The Bulenox Option 1 account. Everyone talks about it, but few actually understand it. Here's the thing. If you don't master the trailing drawdown, your account can blow up before you even see it coming. So take the time to understand it properly. Alright, in this video, I'll walk you through the key points I've gathered from my experience. Initially, on this channel, we aimed for short videos, 10 minutes max, because everyone's in a hurry. But once I started digging into this topic, there was no way to keep it short. So here's the plan. First, we'll break down the trailing drawdown in detail. Later, I'll cover the EOD drawdown accounts in another video. We've done our best to pack in as much value as possible, so stick around and watch it all. Because in this video, you're going to see how the trailing drawdown really works and why it's such a key rule at Bulenox. A real-world example with a series of trades and a detailed chart to help you visualize the impact on your account. How to read Bulenox account selection cards so you'll understand exactly what each detail means. And finally, I'll share my personal tips to help you pick the right account, based on my experience and the feedback I've received from you. So, briefing's over. Ready? Okay, let's go. Alright, so here's Bulenox's Option 1 account with trailing drawdown. First off, the concept is simple. The trailing drawdown adjusts your maximum loss threshold based on the profits you make. The more you earn, the higher this threshold moves up, following your performance. It's a rule set by the prop firm to force you to manage your account properly while protecting the capital they provide. Now be aware that this is a strict rule. If you start losing, the trailing drawdown stays locked at the highest point reached. It never moves back down, even if your balance drops. And here's the key thing. If your balance falls below this threshold, your account is automatically closed. This constraint forces you to be disciplined and manage your positions efficiently. Finally, this type of account requires strong discipline. The mechanism forces you to think through every single trading decision. If you trade recklessly or go beyond your risk levels, you'll quickly hit the limit. This rule is designed to train traders to adopt a strict risk management approach and minimize losses. Take a look at this chart. The white curve shows your balance over time, and the yellow line represents the trailing drawdown. Each time your balance hits a new high, the yellow line adjusts. But if your balance drops below it, that's it. Your account is done. Alright, no need to panic. Let's go over a real example so you can see exactly how this works. Let me show you. Okay, so now we're diving straight into an example for Option 1 to see exactly how the trailing drawdown works. On my screen, you can see 4 key indicators that we're going to follow together. Trade P&L, current P&L, P&L max level, and the trailing drawdown. First, let me break each one down for you real quick. Look here, this is the trade P&L. It shows the value of the trade in progress. Right now, it's at $0 since no position has been opened yet. But as soon as a trade starts, you'll see this number move in real time. Next, here's the current P&L. This is the total sum of your account balance, including all accumulated profits and losses. At the moment, it's sitting at $50,000, which is the starting value of our 50K account. Over here, we have the P&L max level. This tracks the highest point your current P&L has reached so far. Since we're just getting started, it's also set at $50,000. And finally, right here, we have the trailing drawdown. This is the maximum loss threshold you're allowed. It follows your P&L max level, but stays $2,500 behind it. Right now, that means it's at $47,500. And here's the key part. If your current P&L drops below this level, your account is in violation, and it gets automatically closed. Alright, so here's the deal. I've put together a mini chart to make things clearer for you. Let's imagine you take a trade. You've done your prep, your plan, your analysis, everything's lined up. You enter perfectly, aiming for a $1,000 take profit. The market starts moving in your favor, nice and steady, and your trade P&L climbs. Check this out. It reaches $900. To keep things simple, I won't get into the tiny fluctuations. Now, since your starting balance is $50,000, your current P&L hits $50,900. That's $50,000 plus $900. And because your P&L max level always locks in at the highest value reached, it stays at $50,900. Now what about the trailing drawdown? Well, it's always $2,500 below the P&L max level. So now it's locked in at $48,400, which means from now on, you can't drop below that threshold. Earlier, we said you were aiming for $1,000 in profit, but since you're playing it safe, you've placed a stop limit to lock in some gains just in case. Your mindset here is simple. Either you hit your 1,000 TP, or if price pulls back, you still walk away with at least 700. This happens all the time, and in this case, the price didn't quite reach your 1,000 TP. It reversed, and your trade closed at 700 profit. So now, here's the situation. Trade P&L, $700. Current P&L, $50,700. P&L max level, still at $50,900, since it always holds the highest peak. Trailing drawdown, still at $48,400. It doesn't move down, only up. Now take a look at this candlestick chart. You can clearly see what just happened. All right, now, let's switch things up. We're stepping away from candlesticks and moving to a simplified line chart. This next chart has 3 key curves to help you track how your account evolves over 10 trades and how the trailing drawdown behaves over time. Now, we're resetting everything and switching to a simplified chart. You can see the price levels here, ranging from 47,000 to 53,000, no higher, no lower. Quick reminder, for the 50K account, the maximum trailing drawdown limit is always set at $47,500, and the final goal is to reach $53,000. Let's get straight into the first trade. We're going to replay the exact same trade from the previous example. Here we go. The trade moves up to $900, then pulls back to $700. Current P&L adjusts to $50,700. P&L max level follows along, reaching $50,900, and the trailing drawdown, it moves up to $48,400, maintaining that $2,500 gap from the P&L max level. Let's take a second to break this down. Now that the trade has played out, you can clearly see 3 curves forming on the chart. The orange curve is the P&L max level. It tracks the highest point reached. The white curve is the current P&L, your real-time balance, including all gains and losses. The yellow curve is the trailing drawdown. It moves up with your gains, but never moves down. Now, let's jump back to the candlestick chart from before. Remember, our initial take-profit target was $1,000, but we secured $700 just in case price reversed. And that's exactly what happened. Price pulled back before hitting TP, so we got stopped out at $700 profit. Now check this out. The current P&L, white curve, dropped slightly from $900 profit to $700. But P&L max level, orange curve, and trailing drawdown, yellow curve, didn't move down. They stayed locked at their previous levels. Visually, you can now see what's happening. Your trailing drawdown isn't at the original $47,500 anymore. It's now at $48,400. That means you've created a new threshold that you can't go below. Otherwise, your account is done. All right, let's keep going with another trade to make this even clearer. All right, now let's move on to trade number 2. This time, we're dealing with a losing trade of negative $500. It's important to observe how the indicators react in this kind of situation. First off, with this loss, the current P&L drops from $50,700 to $50,200. You can see it clearly here. Look at the white curve. It dips slightly. Then over to the P&L max level, orange line. Since no new high has been reached, it remains locked at $50,900, the highest level reached during the first trade. And finally, the trailing drawdown, yellow curve, also stays fixed at $48,400 because it always follows the P&L max level, and that hasn't changed. The key takeaway here is that even if you take a loss, the P&L max level and trailing drawdown don't move unless the current P&L reaches a new high. All right, I hope everything is making sense so far. Let's move on to trade number 3 to track how these curves evolve. Okay, now on to trade number 3. This time, we've got a winning trade. The price first spikes up to $1,500 profit, before stabilizing at $1,200 profit when the trade closes. Let's check out what that looks like on our chart. First, because of this gain, the current P&L temporarily climbs all the way up to $51,700 before stabilizing at $51,400. You can see it here. The white curve settles at this level. Since we reached a new high, the P&L max level, the orange curve, adjusts accordingly. It moves up from $50,900 to $51,700, marking the highest value reached so far. And of course, the trailing drawdown, yellow curve, follows. It remains exactly $2,500 below the P&L max level, so it moves up from $48,400 to $49,200. The takeaway here is simple. Only new highs influence both the P&L max level and the trailing drawdown. That's what creates a new threshold, one you can't drop below, otherwise the account gets closed. All right, hope that's clear. Let's move on to trade number 4 and see how these curves continue to evolve. All right, so here we are at trade number 4. This time, we're looking at a losing trade with a $1,500 loss. Let's see how this impacts our indicators. First, because of this loss, the current P&L drops. It goes from $51,400 down to $49,900. You can clearly see this decline on the white curve. It moves downward. Next, the P&L max level, orange curve, doesn't change at all. It stays locked at $51,700 because no new high was reached. And finally, the trailing drawdown, yellow curve, remains unchanged at $49,200. That's because it always follows the P&L max level, and since that hasn't moved, neither does the drawdown. Key takeaway here, just like in trade number 2, a losing trade has no impact on either the P&L max level or the trailing drawdown. However, if you look at the chart, you'll see something important. We're getting dangerously close to the drawdown limit. We're now exactly $700 away from hitting it and wiping out the account. This is why keeping a close eye on your trailing drawdown is non-negotiable. All right, moving on to trade number 5. This time, we've got a winning trade with a $2,000 profit. Let's see how that affects our key indicators. First off, with this gain, the current P&L reaches a temporary new high at $52,200 during the trade, before pulling back to $51,900 at close. You can clearly see this move. Price spikes up, then stabilizes. Since this new high is above the previous one, the P&L max level, orange line, adjusts accordingly. It moves from $51,700 up to $52,200, marking the new highest point reached. Now, the trailing drawdown, yellow line, which always stays $2,500 below the P&L max level, also moves up. It shifts from $49,200 to $49,700, setting a new safety threshold. See, these adjustments aren't just for show. They set strict limits you have to respect. If you ignore your trailing drawdown, you'll blow your account the moment you drop below the limit. So, stay sharp and keep an eye on these levels to avoid an automatic shutdown. All right, let's move on to trade number 6. This time, we're looking at another losing trade with an $1,800 loss. Let's break it down on our chart. The reaction is straightforward. With this loss, the current P&L drops. It falls from $51,900 down to $50,100. You can clearly see the white curve taking a dive. Now, over to the P&L max level, orange line, no change. It stays locked at $52,200. Makes sense, right? Since this was a straight-up loss, no new high was reached. And what about the trailing drawdown, yellow line? Same deal, no movement. It's still stuck at $49,700, maintaining its $2,500 gap from the P&L max level. Here's what stands out. The current P&L is now dangerously close to the drawdown limit. We're talking only $400 away from hitting that critical threshold, which would instantly shut down the account. Look at this. In just a few trades, your safety margin has shrunk massively. And more importantly, your loss limit, which started at $47,500, has now moved up to $49,700. If you don't manage your trades properly, this is where things get tricky. All right, let's move on to trade number 7 and see how things unfold. Okay, at this point, the pressure is building up. You've already come dangerously close to the trailing drawdown limit twice, and now psychology starts kicking in. This time, we go for a more cautious trade, a tight stop limit with a controlled $500 profit target. This is a classic reaction from a trader feeling the heat, trying to reduce exposure rather than risk another brutal drop. Let's see how this affects our indicators. The current P&L moves up slightly, from $50,100 to $50,600. The white curve starts a slight recovery. The P&L max level, orange line, doesn't budge. It stays locked at $52,200 since no new high was reached. The trailing drawdown, yellow line, remains frozen at $49,700, keeping its usual $2,500 gap from the P&L max level. At this stage, we see a shift in strategy. After brushing up against the drawdown threshold twice, you start adjusting your mindset. The focus now is on playing it safer, avoiding unnecessary risks, and creating a bit of breathing room. But is this enough? Let's jump to trade number 8 to see if this approach helps stabilize the situation or if the pressure starts creeping back in. All right, we've now arrived at trade number 8. After trying a more cautious approach in the previous trade, this time we take a small $300 loss. At this point, the pressure is still there, but the goal is to manage losses and avoid major drawdowns. Let's see how this impacts our indicators. Current P&L drops slightly from $50,600 to $50,300. The white curve shows this small dip. P&L max level, orange line, remains unchanged at $52,200 since no new high was reached. Trailing drawdown, yellow line, stays locked at $49,700, maintaining its $2,500 gap from the P&L max level. What we're seeing here is risk management kicking in. You're taking a smaller, controlled loss, which helps prevent a steep drop in your current P&L. But here's the catch. Even though the loss is small, it doesn't create any breathing room in relation to the trailing drawdown, which remains stuck at its last position. So now the question is, will this cautious approach help stabilize the situation? Or is the pressure about to ramp up again, leading to riskier decisions? Let's check out trade number 9. This time, we take another $300 loss. It's small, but it keeps shrinking the buffer before hitting the trailing drawdown limit. We're now just $300 away from blowing the account. All right, let's see how this impacts our indicators. Current P&L dips again, going from $50,300 to exactly $50,000. The white curve keeps sliding down, showing that the breathing room is getting tighter. P&L max level, orange line, remains stuck at $52,200 since no new high was made. Trailing drawdown, yellow line, stays locked at $49,700, maintaining its $2,500 gap from the P&L max level. What you can clearly see here is that these small consecutive losses slowly chip away at the safety cushion. Even though they don't kill the account immediately, they drain the ability to absorb future losses, leaving less and less room to recover. Let's try to bounce back with trade number 10. Well, that's the end of the road. With just $300 left in our buffer, there weren't many options left. If the trade went our way, we had a shot at recovering. If it went against us, account closure was inevitable. Unfortunately, it played out the second way, a $300 loss that brings the current P&L down to $49,700, exactly at the trailing drawdown limit. let's break it down on the indicators. Current P&L drops to $49,700, hitting the critical threshold. P&L max level, orange line, stays locked at $52,200, but it doesn't even matter anymore. The account is about to be closed. Trailing drawdown, yellow line, has been reached, triggering an immediate account closure. With this full breakdown, you now see why tracking your trailing drawdown is non-negotiable. The moment your current P&L hits this limit, it's game over. No second chances, no recovery. This 10-trade sequence highlights a crucial fact. Trailing drawdown is never fixed. Every time you hit a new high, it moves up, but it never moves back down. If you only track the initial $47,500 drawdown limit, you're making a mistake. The higher your P&L max level, the higher your drawdown follows. And if you chain losses, your safety margin evaporates fast. You end up trading on the edge, with zero room for error. Of course, this could have been managed differently, using micro lots or other risk strategies. But that wasn't the point here. I wasn't going to drag you through 100 trades. That would have been unbearable. All right, I hope you fully understand now how the trailing drawdown works on Bulenox's Option 1 account. All right, now let's go over the details of each Option 1 account. So, here's a typical Bulenox card. It gives you a quick overview of the account's main characteristics. Let's break it down together. Right here, this is the capital you'll be managing. It defines your profit target, your drawdown, and your overall market exposure. For example, on this card, you can see $25,000. Over here, you've got the number of contracts. This determines your max position size in the market. For instance, one contract on the Nasdaq equals $20 per point. That's some serious leverage. Now this part shows the profit target. That's the amount you need to reach to pass your evaluation. For a $25,000 account, the target is set at $1,500. Then, right here, you've got the maximum drawdown. This is the most important number to keep in mind. It's the max loss allowed before your account gets closed. Like we saw in the example earlier, where the $50,000 account had a $2,500 limit, this $25,000 account has a $1,500 limit. Next, we've got the profit split. It's simple. The first $10,000 you make is yours, 100%. After that, you share profits with the prop firm, 90% for you, 10% for them. Over here, this section shows the monthly fee. For this account, it's $145 per month. And by the way, don't forget to use our trading strategy promo codes, link in the description. Sometimes you can get discounts ranging from 80% to 91% off. And finally, down here, you've got two drawdown options, trailing drawdown or EOD drawdown. These two choices depend on your trading style. In this video, we're focusing on Option 1, but I'll explain Option 2 in another video. All right, that's a full breakdown of this card. Now let's move on to some key tips. All right, so here we have all 6 Option 1 accounts lined up, with all the details we've just covered. But instead of just reading numbers, we're going to break down the key points to help you pick the right account smartly. Okay, let's start with the $10,000 account. So here's what you've got: a $1,000 profit target, a $1,000 trailing drawdown. And most importantly, the activation fee is $98. Now here's the catch. This account is almost never on promo. Why? Because Bulenox adjusts its pricing based on competitors, and most prop firms rarely offer discounts on 10K accounts, so this one usually stays at full price. So, if you're looking to start small on a budget, this can be a solid entry point. But don't count on a big discount to grab it. Quick recap: low activation cost, which makes it great for testing the platform and getting comfortable without much risk. Rarely on promo, so not the best pick if you're looking for a cheap deal. Limited drawdown means you'll have to trade micro lots, which isn't a bad thing if you're just starting and want to keep risk under control. All right, now let's look at the $25,000 account. Here's what you get: a $1,500 profit target, a $1,500 trailing drawdown, and an important detail: the activation fee is $143. Now compared to the 10K account, this one is way more interesting. Why? Because it's often on promo. Bulenox keeps up with the competition, and 25K accounts frequently get discounts. So, if you're looking for a solid balance between affordability and a bit more breathing room, this is a much better option than the 10K account. Plus, the profit target and drawdown ratio are well balanced. Quick recap. Often on promo, making it more budget-friendly. Wider drawdown, so you can trade a bit more comfortably without feeling too restricted. Good profit-to-drawdown ratio, making it a great choice if you're starting out but want a bit more flexibility. Now, let's break down the $50,000 account. Here's what you get. A $3,000 profit target, a $2,500 trailing drawdown. And an important point, the activation fee is $148. This account is one of the most balanced options when it comes to risk management and profit potential. It offers a solid middle ground between a reasonable drawdown and an achievable profit target, making it a favorite among traders who want to secure their capital while having some room to trade. Another key advantage, it's frequently on promo. Just like the 25K account, discounts are pretty common, making it easier to get started at a lower cost. By the way, check the description for the best Bulenox promo codes on our Trading Strategy FR site. Quick recap. Often on promo, so it's financially appealing. Bigger drawdown, allowing for more flexible risk management and less pressure. Great balance between profit target and loss tolerance, making it a solid choice for traders who want more space to operate without unnecessary stress. If you're looking for an account that gives you good breathing room while staying accessible, this one is definitely a strong pick. Alright, now let's move on to the 100K account. Here's what you get. A $6,000 profit target, a $3,000 trailing drawdown. And here's something to keep in mind. Activation fees go up, with a $248 fee after passing the challenge. Just like the 25K and 50K accounts, the 100K account frequently goes on promo, which can lower the cost of entry and make it more attractive. But watch out for one thing. The profit target to drawdown ratio is much tougher. Here, you need to make twice your drawdown in profit to pass the evaluation. In other words, you have to hit 200% of your drawdown in gains to qualify. That's a high bar and requires very strict risk management. But to be fair, this ratio is pretty standard across other prop firms, so it's something to be aware of, especially if you're just getting started. Also, don't forget about the activation fee. You're looking at nearly $250 just to unlock your master account. That's not a small expense, so make sure it fits your budget. Quick recap, often on promo, which helps lower the entry cost. High profit to drawdown ratio, meaning you need to hit 200% of your drawdown to pass, making it a tougher challenge. Activation fees are getting high. You'll need around $250 just to get started. Because of these constraints, this account isn't necessarily the best pick, unless you're comfortable with this level of challenge. If you're looking for a more balanced option, the 50K account remains a stronger choice. Alright, now we're stepping into a whole different category of accounts with the $150,000 account. Here's what you're looking at. A $9,000 profit target, a $4,500 trailing drawdown. And here's where things get a bit crazy. Activation fees are way off the charts compared to the competition. You'll need to drop $498 just to unlock the account after passing the challenge. Now let's break this down. First, the profit to drawdown ratio is super demanding. Just like the 100K account, you need to make 200% of your drawdown in profit to pass. With a $9,000 target, this is a serious challenge that requires tight risk management and disciplined execution. Then, we've got the activation fee issue. At almost $500, this is outrageously expensive for new traders. Paying that much just to unlock your account after passing. That's a huge barrier, especially if you don't have prior experience with funded accounts. So, is this account worth it? Honestly, only if you get a massive promo, 96% off, or something crazy, and you just want to challenge yourself or collect a certificate. Otherwise, you're better off looking at other prop firms that offer better deals for this funding level. Quick summary. Super high entry cost. This account isn't worth it unless you get a huge discount. Brutal profit to drawdown ratio, Hitting 200% of your drawdown is a tough task. Activation fees are ridiculous. Spending $500 just to unlock it? No thanks. Bottom line, unless you have no other options, skip this one. A 50K account will give you way more flexibility and a much better deal. All right, now we're at the top of the range, the $250,000 account. Here's what's on the table. A $15,000 profit target, a $5,500 trailing drawdown, and the most absurd activation fee so far, $898 just to unlock the account after passing. This account requires rock-solid risk management. First, let's talk about the profit-to-drawdown ratio. This one is next-level brutal. You need to make 273% of your drawdown in profit to pass the challenge. That's almost 3 times your drawdown, a massive hurdle that demands flawless discipline and precise risk control. Then, there's the activation fee problem. Spending nearly $900 just to activate your account? That's insane, especially when other prop firms offer way better deals for this kind of funding. So, is this account worth it? Honestly, no. Unless you snag a ridiculous 96% discount, this account has no real advantage over its competitors. If you just want a certificate to flex, fine. But if you're here to make money, this isn't the move. Quick summary: ridiculously high entry cost. This is overpriced for what you're getting. Brutal profit-to-drawdown ratio, 273% profit target, makes passing incredibly hard. Activation fees are a joke. $898 just to unlock the account? Nope. Bottom line, if you want to challenge yourself and somehow land a crazy promo, go for it. But otherwise, skip this one and find a better deal elsewhere. All right, that wraps up all the Option 1 accounts from Bulenox. I've tried to be as transparent as possible. Hope this clears things up for you. Okay, so we've reached the end of this video on the trailing drawdown for Option 1 accounts at Bulenox. I know, it was a long one, but no way to make it shorter without skipping crucial details. Now, you've got everything you need to avoid traps and manage your account like a pro. Quick recap. We broke down how the trailing drawdown really works and why it's a key rule at Bulenox. We walked through a detailed trade series with visuals so you could see its impact on your account. I showed you how to decode the account selection cards so you understand exactly what every number means. And finally, I shared my personal advice to help you pick the right account, with the pros and cons of each. What's next? Still got questions? Check the description. You'll find checkmark in-depth articles to go even further. Links to other videos help you become a funded trader. Exclusive promos to start under the best conditions. Also, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Since we spend a ton of time on each video, we don't always have a fixed upload schedule. So, make sure you don't miss out. More content is coming. EOD, drawdown accounts, prop firm rules, and the best funding options out there. Oh, and drop a comment if there's a topic you'd like us to cover. If it's within our expertise, we'll make a video on it. That's it for me. I say to you, good trades and see you soon on the markets.